The video I'm about to play is just about the best video on chemtrails that I've seen. But they screwed up. They put, it's like a weird spiritual attack that you see happen so often, or it's like the guy who was lying about 9/11. Oh yeah, those towers fell mostly due to structural failure. Just he knew he was lying, but the thing that jumps on and reminds people lies, the same thing that jumps in and screws up people. Like this video is way too important to have this kind of bad information in it. They make an amazing chemtrail video, and then right in the middle they put a guy, I don't know what they probably were editing it quickly and didn't realize that they made it look good for a second, but the guy says, oh, aluminum in the environment's harmless and it's done to fight global warming. Like, no, it's not harmless. It's one of the most toxic substances known to man. Once it's in your body, it doesn't want to get out. It screws up your brain. Since they began spraying, early onset dementia's up by massive amounts. And it's not a one-to-one. It's not a, you got Alzheimer's or you didn't. If you're not getting it, you're still going to be slower, dumber, more irritable. Your brain is being chemically cooked. Some people wind up drooling in a hospital, but for every person who winds up drooling in a hospital, there's another 10 people who are just, short-tempered with their kids, or easily agitated, or easily suggestible, which the news loves. So anyway, here's the video.
Stop this. I can tell you that as a farmer, when I'm in my field and I watch my crops, sometimes I notice a difference in my plant within 24 hours of them spraying. Literally changing the growth, color of the plants. What aluminum does, and I'm not a scientist, I'm just a fifth generation farmer, but I can tell you this, the aluminum blocks the plant off from absorbing nutrients. I have farmers that have sent me soil samples that it's 5% more than it was last year. And I have samples from well samples that have no aluminum in it, and they took rain samples on the same day that have high aluminum in it.
You could use tiny little bits of aluminum, which is benign in the environment, and essentially manage the climate.
We must stop this. Go to our website.
So, yeah, like that right there was just like, if you're not up on this stuff and you're like, okay, well, you're saying this, but this guy says it's harmless and it's fighting climate change. Like, no, the reason that climate change is an issue is because these guys wanted an excuse to turn the sky into gas chambers. And you can say what you will spiritually about a preference for gas chambers, but insane but true. So yeah, they're cooking our brains chemically any way they can. They've been doing it purposely for a long time. This is how they always do it. Very similar thing to what they did with saying climate change. Is they knew people thought that measles was a massive problem, but it had just burned out of the population, and then they came along with their vaccinations after it burned out of the population. So the susceptible people died, most people became immune. I mean, measles barely killed anybody, and then they walk in and they say, oh, look, we just cured it. See, it's not here anymore. And people associate it in their mind. They're like, oh yeah, okay, it's not here anymore. They must have just stopped it with their vaccinations. Like, no, it was gone already. This is how they always do. So the vaccinations were always just an excuse to cook our brains chemically. They were using mercury for a long time, and the reason we have the word quack in the vocabulary about doctors is because way back in the 1800s, when they first started using mercury amalgam fillings, sensible doctors were calling the dentists who were approving of that quacks. They knew, like anybody who's studied anything in your life knows that mercury is just awful for you. But they went ahead and did it for 200 years. But this is the sneaky way they do. So the sneaky thing they did with the chemtrails is they made climate change an issue. So now they've got pilots who think, oh no, the people would protest if they knew we were spraying, and we need to do this to stop climate change. Like putting a cloud at 40,000 feet when the atmosphere goes up 400,000 feet does not change the climate. It makes it locally cooler. Like it'll drop the atmosphere down chemically, that cool air up there, and if you're on the ground, like, oh, it worked, it got cooler, but you're in a fish tank. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you, put a door in the middle of a field and open it. Like, it's not going to change the climate of the field. If you spray clouds at 40,000 feet, it's not going to change the climate. The sun drives the climate. Always has. Man-made global warming is a hoax. Obviously, like, pollution's a problem, but cooking our brains chemically to stop it is not a solution. This is just how the cabal does. They want people weak-willed, soft-brained, unable to think, unable to speak against their crimes, more likely to join them in their stupidity. So anyway, that's the insanity of. But I mean, that video was perfect except for that spiritual hit that, you know, this guy's making what I think is the best video that I've seen in years in conspiracy world. But it's got that perfect little hit if you're not paying attention, if you're not if you're not up on this stuff. You're like, well, you say it's bad, but you just said climate change and global warming, and I know that's good to stop that. So, you know, like, people in their head will think, you know, they'll latch onto the one thing, and however spiritually we get attacked will make them more prone to that if you're not paying any attention. So yeah, your government fakes all news. They did 9/11. They did COVID. They did COVID to mask 5G, EMF poisoning, and side effects. They did that so they could use AI to rape your brain, read your mind. And they, you know, do news like that, like just complete fake news. They do news like this, complete fake news, complete contrivance, false flag. If they don't teach you in high school, the difference between a false flag and a hoax is someone dies in a false flag. A hoax is like the Israeli concert attack, where they just had their actors and they told the military to stand down, and they coordinated a pre-cordoned off area and escaped on mopeds. Escaped. They flew in on mopeds and escaped in golf carts 7.5 hours later against the world's 18th strongest military. That has a 7% public gun ownership rate and mandatory military service. So those 7% of people that own guns know how to use them. And terrorists are supposedly escaping down the street in golf carts 7.5 hours after attack began, when they have a less than 5-minute response time with attack helicopters. Like, just never happen. Never happen. Again, this is the manipulation they do. Back when we had a national debate about vaccinations, they put a playmate on purpose, knowing that people would not trust the playmate no matter what you said next to a doctor. Like, I'm going to go with the doctor. These are the head games that the people in charge play. The Freemasons, the bioterrorists, whoever they are, whatever they are. Hey. So yeah.